Welcome to Seoul Television News. My name is Angela Epma. The headlines. Governor Francis Nwifuru announces minor cabinet reshuffle. Remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari laid to rest at his country home, Daura, Katsina State. United States President Donald Trump has expressed determination to supporting Ukraine if deal to end the war with Russia is not reached within 50 days. And now the news in detail. Governor Francis Nwifuru has announced a minor cabinet reshuffle with a charge on members of the council to reflect on their stewardship to the state and redirect their focus to the vision and mission of the present administration as encapsulated in People's Charter of Needs Manifesto. The Commissioner for Information and State Orientation, Chief Ikuwa Omebe, made this known in his office while briefing newsmen on the outcome of this week's State Executive Council meeting held at ESCO Chambers Government House or to the Centenary City, Abakaliki. Osondun Guta has details.
According to the new Commissioner for Information, Chief Ikuwa Omebe, on the minor cabinet reshufflement, the former Commissioner for Information and State Orientation, Mr. Jude Okpo, is now Commissioner for Rural Development, while the former Commissioner for Rural Development, Chief Ikuwa Omebe, will now man the Ministry of Information and State Orientation. Professor Paul Nwabashi, who was the Commissioner for Education, Primary and Secondary, was redeployed to Ministry of Border Peace and Conflict Resolution, while Dr. Donatus Elang, former Commissioner for Border Peace and Conflict Resolution, moves to Education, Primary and Secondary. Chief Omebe, who informed that the Chairman of the Council, Governor Nwifuru, who granted the Commissioner for Environment, Mr. Victor Chukwu, and his counterpart in the Ministry of Tertiary Education, Professor Omari Omaka, a 3-month period of grace or risk being sanctioned, further charged all council members to redouble their commitment in the discharge of their duties.
ESCO also was presented from the Ministry of Budgets, Planning, Research and Monitoring. The memo also came requesting the ESCO for the approval to what they call medium-term expenditure framework spanning from 2026 to 2028. That memo also was approved for the state over the next 3 years.
He also said that ESCO, in furtherance of the administration's resolve to provide enabling environment for industrial revolution, has approved the supply and installation of independent captive power generation plant to supply 24 hours metered electric power to specific public and private industries/institutions in the state, noting that the project is to commence with 1 unit of the plant that would generate 3 megawatts and to be situated at ICT University of Irekpe, Agbaja. According to Chief Omebe, ESCO approved the participation of Ebonyi State in the EHAD project of the federal government of Nigeria and the subsequent payment of counterpart funding for the project. He emphasized that EHAD is an acronym for Energy for Health, Education, Agriculture, Rural Development, and Transportation.
This has to do with the first phase of it. 25 primary health centers within the state shall be selected from the first component of the project of the EHAT, which has to do with primary health centers. 25 health centers within the state shall be selected for this project. Each of the health centers is going to take up to 700 million naira. In fact, it's a totality of about 17.6 billion naira projects. Within the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development, the Council also received and approved the Ebonyi State Business Enabling Reform Action Plan 2024, which indicates the progressive performance of the state in the State Action on Business Enabling Reforms program. This is intended to meet the World Bank eligibility criteria for implementation of the SABA program in 2025.
Chief Omebe further informed of ESCO's approval for the constitution of a 15-man Ebonyi State Economic Advisory Committee to be headed by Professor Bat Nnaji, with Dr. Ben Odo as Secretary. Osondo Nguta, Salt TV News.
College of Nursing Sciences, Alex Ekweme Federal University Teaching Hospital, Abakaliki, in collaboration with the Students' Union Government, SUG, has organized Students' Week, which kicked off with a rally round the major roads within the capital city, Abakaliki, as part of the activities to mark the epoch-making event. EBBC press crew led by Charles Ole covered the event. The report.
The Students' Week activities, which rolled off the ground on the 14th of July 2025, are significant for raising public awareness about the vital role of nurses in healthcare, advocating improved academic nursing conditions, and maintaining physical fitness. The SUG President, College of Nursing Sciences, Alex Ekweme Federal University Teaching Hospital, Abakaleke, Mr. Maxwell Madukwe, said it's a week mapped out for nursing students to engage themselves with varieties of programs that will make them actively productive as youths and the future leaders. Mr. Madukwe expressed gratitude to Governor Francis Nwifuru for making health institutions and education priority in his administration, especially scholarship scheme of indigenous students who are studying in various universities abroad, and described him as student-friendly governor.
We are having what we call Student Week. It is a week where the students come and express themselves, where there is no lectures, and will come and have different variety of events, ranging from Larry to dinner night, to cultural day, to entrepreneurship, and the rest of it. And there is no way you make the youth the future of tomorrow if you don't engage them actively in something that will make them productive. And this is a way to encourage them to become entrepreneurs in nature. Because no matter how we want to do it, what makes our school or our nation to move forward is how many entrepreneurs we have. So that's a way to encourage the entrepreneurship spirit in the students.
The students, including Miss Chidima Osai and Miss Flora Njoko, expressed their joyful mood for being part of the Students' Week celebration, adding that encourages motivational discussions and initiatives to support and improve nursing profession in the state and beyond.
It's Nurses Week. I feel so excited. It's so amazing. Today marks the beginning of our Students' Week. You know, we work so hard, we read, so we just decided to carve out a week to celebrate ourselves, have fun, and reach out to the community at large.
It is expected that the Student Week would be rounded off on the 20th of July 2025 with so many activities, including Old School Costume Day, Entrepreneurship, Sports Cultural Day, and Bonfire Night, Dinner and Award Night, Community Mobilization, and Thanksgiving Service. Charles Olejino for Salt TV News.
It was an expression of oneness and inseparable bond as people of Eza clan celebrated this cultural heritage known as Okaku New Yam Festival. In the spirit of the New Yam Festival, EBBC reporter Chidebere Nwere sampled opinions of some people on the significance of the festival in parts of the state. The report.
Okaku Eza is the New Yam Festival that brings sons and daughters of Eza clan together for celebration to thank God for a bumper harvest, unity, and better life that is yet to come. The festival is full of tradition, visitation, and heartfelt act of charity, which shows how Eza people hold themselves as one indivisible family and how they respect God who provides for them. The Commissioner for Commerce, Industry and Business Development, Chief Oguzo Ofianwali, said, Okaku New Yam Festival fosters more peace, unity, and brotherliness among Eza people living in different parts of the world.
The existence of mankind is culture, and the culture is what we are celebrating today because it is the remembrance of what about us.
The Commissioner for Housing and Urban Development, Mr. Francis Ori, and his water resources counterpart, Mr. Chinedum Nka, said culture is a form of identity and unifying factor for a given people in a geographical setting, and urged people of the state to always embrace their cultural heritage.
Culture is one thing we cannot do without. In short, is the way the people live their life. And I want to encourage every community, every crown in Ebonyi State to uphold their culture.
If you follow the culture of Igbo lands, you will not be party to any vices because you are afraid of the gods.
Others, including Mr. Samson Obaji and Mr. Christian Nwale, both from Amweka Autonomous Community in Eza South Local Government Area, emphasized that Okaku New Yam Festival is a time for reflection, reconciliation, and thanksgiving, fostering sense of shared identity among the Eza clan.
By coming home, we enable you to understand what your culture is all about. You can't just be rolling inside the town and be saying that culture is nothing.
Okaku Eza signifies the end of the old yam harvest period and the beginning of the new yam harvest and new year. For South TV News, I am Chidebere Nwolye.
The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, has advocated an integrated, sustainable planning approach in achieving governmental goals. A consultant, UNDP, Mr. Carlo Okwa, made the advocacy during the inauguration of a 2-week stakeholders consultation and needs assessment program on the preparation of Ebonyi State Development Plan, organized in collaboration with Sustainable Development Goals in Abakaliki. Government House correspondent Pauline Wanerianwe has details.
The consultant, United Nations Development Programme, Mr. Kalokwa, who spoke on the overview of development planning process, stated that an integrated approach was needed in achieving socio-economic growth and development of the state. According to Okwa, adequate planning and monitoring improve service delivery, while lack of monitoring and evaluation breed corruption and mismanagement in the system.
Or is a concept difficult to define to the satisfaction of everybody. And this is a simple fact. What I consider as development may not be what Mr. Dan considers as development, may not be what each and every one of us here considers.
The chairman, technical committee and commissioner for budget and planning, Mrs. Chinwoka, and the senior special assistant to the governor on sustainable development goals, Mrs. Esther Mora, urged participants to ensure that the goals were realizable for economic growth and development of the state.
What you witness today is what we call state plan on SDG. That is a plan that we have already set in place. The state wants to synchronize it so that they will have their own input in the plan. So this is a partnership business with UNDP program, and we attracted it to the state. So we are trying to combine the plans of the UNDP with the state plan.
That's why the women here, the traditional rulers, the civil society organization, and those in government.
The ex-White Commissioner for Rural Development, Mr. Iku Womebe, the Chairman, Ikwo Local Government Council, Mr. Sunday Wankwo, and the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Finance, Mrs. Inform Williams, appreciated the State Governor, Chief Francis Mwifru, for his proactiveness in attracting the 10-year plan to reduce poverty in the state.
SDG is really here to think on best way to plan for the development of the state, both short-term and long-term planning for the development of the state. I want to commend the leadership of SDG Ebonyi State, because if a nation or people fail to plan, they will plan to fail.
I learned the need for continuity in planning, and so for me, it is high commendation for His Excellency Right Honorable P.D. Francis Ogbonne for also adopting what they're already preaching today. And I want to thank the SDG department that is representing the governor in this process for their commitment to it.
Some of the participants, Mr. Chukwude Obasi and Mrs. Fortuna Oke, while stating the importance of planning, called for continuity in the execution of projects to avoid abandonment of life-saving capital development projects.
What I want government to do is, just like we talked about, continuity, because over time we've experienced where after a plan is developed, then at the end of the day, the plan will not be followed by successive government, thereby leading to many abandoned projects.
Planning is necessary in whatever one is trying to achieve. Our governor is toying to what other governors could not complete, is lining up to it to make sure that no project is abandoned.
Participants were drawn from ministries, local government areas, civil society organizations, traditional institutions, and persons with disabilities. Pauline Nwanerienwe, Salt TV News.
You're still watching Soul Television News. At this point, we'll take a short break. More stories after now. Stay with us. You're welcome back. The Taraba State Police Command said that it foiled a kidnap attempt by hoodlums along the Wukari-Katsina-Ala Highway. Disclosing this in a statement, the command spokesman, James Lashen, said the police swung into action after receiving a distress call that an 18-seater bus belonging to a private company was intercepted by suspected armed kidnappers along the highway shortly after Federal University Wukari. Details.
Emmanuel Brittet commended the operator. The white vehicle with registration number reaffirmed the command's commitment in collaboration with sister security agencies to fighting the menace of kidnapping in the state.
The remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari has departed London, the United Kingdom, for Daura, Katsina State, ahead of his state burial. According to the report, the body of the late president was conveyed on a Nigerian Air Force craft. Details.
The Vice President, Kashim Shettima, is leading a high-level federal government delegation to finalize documentation and logistical arrangements for the repatriation of the ex-president's remains. On Monday, the federal government said that President Bola Tinubu will receive the former president's remains in Katsina ahead of his final interment in Daura, Katsina State. Meanwhile, report has it that the remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari was finally laid to rest at his country home, Daura, Katsina State, amidst glowing tributes.
China's economy has beaten expectations even as U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and a prolonged crisis in the property markets weigh on growth. Official figures show the world's second largest economy grew by 5.2% in the 3 months to the end of June compared to the same time last year. That's better than the 5.1% forecast by many economists, but lower than the previous quarter. Details.
The country has so far avoided a sharp downturn, partly due to measures announced by Beijing to help support the economy and a fragile trade truce with Washington. The economy withstood pressure and made steady improvement despite challenges, said China's National Bureau of Statistics in a statement. Officials said economic growth was helped by a 6.4% expansion in manufacturing with higher demand for 3D printing devices, electric vehicles, and industrial robots.
U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the U.S. will send top-of-the-line weapons to Ukraine via NATO countries, while also threatening Russia with severe tariffs if a deal to end the war is not reached within 50 days. The word confirmed the U.S. had decided to massively supply Ukraine with what is necessary through NATO and that the Europeans would foot the bill. Details.
Trump said European countries will send Kiev their own Patriot air defense systems, which Ukraine relies on to repel Russia's deadly airstrikes, and replacements will then be issued by the United States. Neither Rutte nor Trump elaborated on the weaponry that will be sent to Kiev, but Rutte said the deal included missiles and ammunition. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on X handle that he spoke with Trump after his meeting with Rutte and thanked him for his willingness to support Ukraine.
And that's the news, but before we go, a recap of our major stories. Governor Francis Nwifuru has announced a minor cabinet reshuffle with a charge on members of the council to reflect on their stewardship to the state and redirect their focus to the vision and mission of the present administration as encapsulated in the People's Charter of Needs Manifesto. The remains of former President Muhammadu Buhari has departed London, the United Kingdom, for Daura, Katsina State, ahead of a state burial. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the U.S. will send top-of-the-line weapons to Ukraine via NATO countries, while also threatening Russia with severe tariff if a deal to end the war is not reached within 50 days. And that's the news. Many thanks for watching. My name is Angela Akuma.